Time to do it.
Here we are. Now you can see our beautiful mugs. Mine a little bit less so. I'm hoping that my terrible goatee is at least suitable for public consumption. As you can see, we have leveled up. We have behind me here is the Tengu blanket, because figuring out how to set up a proper background with a chroma key or anything like that and a green screen is currently beyond my meager intellectual capacity. So let's go ahead and get started. What are we going to be talking about today?
Okay, so last week we were supposed to talk about Rhea, because there was a huge Rhea dev blog, which had a lot of things, but then a lot of nothing at the same time. It was a lot of this is what we're planning for, but not really any, like, aside from Thera and the Shattered Wormholes, didn't really have a whole lot of definite, these are the things that are happening, and then, like, a lot of information about what exactly it means. So I guess I'd like to start by talking a bit about Rhea and Thera, because Thera is this wonderful, new, fancy type of space. It's the only named wormhole system, and it's the, yes.
There's going to be a million Poitot jokes about it, right?
All right, they've already started. And then, so it's the biggest system in EVE ever. It's 342 AU between stations.
Did somebody say it takes like 6 minutes to warp a freighter between one station to the other or something?
I think that was the number someone gave. And it's massive. The stations, obviously capitals can't get in except for freighters. Mm-hmm. There's 4 stations total, I believe. And it supports industry, and all the stations have, like, everything you could ever want in a station, like all your clone setups, industry, market things, all set up properly to support people living in it, I think, is what it sounds like.
Well, I mean, what my question is, just off the top of my head, is, one of the things that makes wormhole space interesting and different is it's sort of like an entirely alternate EVE Online where people who don't enjoy nullsec or lowsec can go off, they can have their no local stuff. And they also can't have more than like 150 people in any one alliance or organization taking over more than one hole. So, I mean, it seems kind of like the first thing that's going to happen is, they've kind of created a space that allows an alliance level, like a coalition level entity to set up a base of power in wormhole space, which... I'm not sure whether they've thought that through, whether they want that or how the wormhole space people will react to that.
Yeah, I think some of the things that, like I said, they put in place to try and stop one entity from taking it over is just the massive, the how big it is. I think that's supposed to be, the idea is that because it's so big and because there are 4 systems, there's no way in which one entity will be able to take it over. I'm not sure that I agree with that statement at all. The other interesting thing about it is that it's a normal wormhole static that will open to other wormholes, but it's also got a known space static at all times.
So people can just roll that to be, I mean, this is a 40K,
exactly.
This is totally like a Warhammer 40K nerd thing to say, but it sounds to me like the base of the Dark Eldar in 40K, which is this little sort of pirate base in the webway called Komarok, and they send out their raiding parties all around the universe and go on raids. I mean, that's great because you can just roll that known space static if you control that asset, and that sounds actually pretty much tailor-made for the CFC's Reaver organization. I mean,
it does a little bit. So, I mean...
Okay.
So it's very interesting.
I need to make a note of this. I'm going to have
to... And it's going to be... The known space entrance, this is going to be a bubbler's dream.
Yeah, that's going to be ridiculous. Like, there's going to be like I guess the known space entrance will change on, what is it, like a daily basis, every other day? Or I guess how fast people roll through and close it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all about who's inside of it and who can control it. And also, I apologize that I see that my camera's doing some weird stuff, guys. I don't know how to fix it. We'll get a better webcam for me later.
Okay.
So I apologize for that. But, I mean, so Thera opens up this interesting new thing where, obviously, like I said, it's going to be good for industry. It's going to have, ice mining stations, which are going to give a lot of good things. And they're hoping
ice mining in W Space, is that new? I guess they don't have ice.
I'm not actually sure. I've only been in a wormhole once, and it was for like a week, and then we were like, this is too hard, let's leave it alone. Which my character is still stuck in there. Hooray.
Wow. Okay.
With no way out because I can't probe myself out.
Was that Borthole, that old corporation?
No, that was me and my friends just did it for fun, and whoops.
Gotcha.
So it's supposed to be a place where people can kind of set up a base of operations. And Kind of, I think. I think that's the intention, but I think the intention is also for it to be highly contested. That one entity can't just come in, take it over, and hold it forever.
I mean, the thing that's weird to me about that, I mean, there might be distances between the systems, I mean, distances between the stations, but, you know, the concept of the federated Jabber server, or just even a tightly networked IRC channel, means that entities can network and, you know, cover different bases like that. So one of the things, like unintended consequences here, one of the things I think we've seen recently from CCP, just sort of in the past and now, is they have trouble predicting what coalitions can do, what nullsec alliances can do. And so saying that just because these things are like 6 minutes apart by freighter, you just have standing fleets in each of these things. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It'll be amusing. At the very least, it'll create a lot of drama. And if somebody does manage to take it over, that'll be something for everyone to fight over and be upset by. So that's conflict and drama and lots of pew-pew, and that's good for Eve. So I actually, everything that I've seen about this upcoming expansion is very exciting to me. If only the removal of clone costs and losing skills upon death, because that's just one of those ridiculous, sensible business decisions that they should have made ages ago to allow veterans to run around in frigates and have fun. So
yeah, I have to agree that I'm really happy with those changes because I'm an idiot and I've potted myself more times than I can count without updating my clone. Whoops.
It could be worse. I mean, it's sort of like from a CFC perspective, you could say it's a feature designed for our good friend the Big Red Boat, because I think he lost FC5 like more times than probably any other single character in EVE Online at this point.
Oh, so I forgot about all that.
Yeah.
So I guess my biggest question with Thera is, well, there's two questions, and I'll ask the first part first. So what role do you think Thera is going to play in larger scale battles and wars between nullsec alliances?
That's going to be really hard to predict, just because we have to see whether somebody can take it over. It would be really useful for an organization like the CFC's Reaver group. That would be pretty much tailor-made for it, even just getting one of the stations there and rolling the static close. But the question about how nullsec alliances will use it is largely going to depend upon, I think, the utility of wormhole flux generators, which are a really neglected iHub upgrade. And you're seeing more and more nullsec entities using wormhole space to get around after the Phoebe power projection nerfs. So if people just start installing more flux generators, they might not even bother going to Thera. So we're just going to have to see. It's going to be really wildly unpredictable how the W-space entities are going to deal with it, whether there's a real benefit for the K-space entities.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how it plays out, like how it becomes to play a role in nullsec. I'm not sure if it will. I kind of hope that it does, because like you're saying, I think it's a wonderful place for people to sit, roll to static, and be like, oh look, we've landed in VFK. Let's go fuck with goons or something. Like, you know, that's things that can happen, which is exciting, I guess.
I think what you'll probably see, actually, just off the top of my head, it sort of came to me in a flash, but, you know, one of the things that happens in nullsec is when an alliance loses a war and gets kicked out of all their space, one of the classic things that they'll do is go join faction warfare or something like that, and they'll tootle around in faction warfare for a bit before they go off and try to retake some SOV. So I think what you might see, just as an attempt to take something over, is when a nullsec alliance does get obliterated or taken out of nullsec, that they will try to invade Thera and take it over. And so I think that'll be interesting. I do expect to see that happen. I don't know whether it's going to succeed. I think it'll be hilarious, because whenever nullsec goes into W space, it tends to end poorly for the nullsecers.
Well, I think that I think that brings up a good point, that it's a great alternative for alliances or entities that kind of lose out on space. That it's a wonderful opportunity for them to, like, as opposed to sitting in NPC nullsec and just out of an NPC station and just going around and screwing with whoever's in that particular region.
In your local area, yeah.
Yeah, to use Thera as a way to go out and hit everyone if they want to.
Something different every day, seeing a new area of known space all the time. Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of potential for the roams there. I'm just really curious about what the income... I mean, if there's enough income that can be supported in Thera, either like running the market or what have you, you might actually see a real nullsec entity of like 2,000, 2,500 characters move in there if it's big enough, as they say, it might even be possible for multiple nullsec entities. So you have, one each controlling a station. But I think it's only a matter of time until whoever controls those stations in Thera links up together on a Jabber server, or IRC begins coordinating, colluding with each other, turning it into sort of a mafia-style thing, because that's how people work. Like, when you get enough of people sharing assets, it's better for them to be working together. And that's why we have nullsec coalitions, alliances, diplomacy, all that good stuff that makes EVE interesting.
Yeah. So I guess the second question is, do you think that Thera is going to make wormhole entities kind of come out of wormholes and maybe screw a little more with nullsec entities? I mean, you see wormhole alliances come out of wormholes every once in a while
they'll do roams, yeah.
They'll do pipe bombs. Usually when they see that there's a large scale battle going on, they'll find out that this alliance hasn't moved out and they know where they're staging, so let's go cut them off somewhere and pipe bomb them. I know Rooks and Kings did that to test a long while back.
That's definitely what they're famous for. Unfortunately, we haven't actually, speaking of pipe bombs, we haven't really seen a post-Phoebe pipe bombing, really, because I think with the travel changes, it's more difficult for Rooks and Kings, who are just the best at it all the way around, to bounce around and set up those hotspots.
Yeah. But do you think do you think that wormhole alliances will come out more to play with nullsec alliances, or do you think they'll largely stay to themselves still? Do you think they'll try to contest control of Thera?
I think that absolutely the people who are going to be first through the gates to take control of at least one of these Thera stations is going to be the W-Space people. Like, they have the expertise, they understand the fits, they know the mechanics. I mean, it's bizarro land out there. If you're not used to it, wormhole spaces, it's a totally different game, which is great. I love the fact that there's all these options for gameplay in EVE. So I would absolutely expect the biggest wormhole entities to seize control over the stations in Thera to begin with. Whether they'll mess with nullsec more or not is kind of an open question. There are a lot of K-space holes that the W-space guys don't even bother rolling closed most of the time. So they always have the ability to roam and mess with things. The last time, though, that somebody in W-Space tried to get everybody together and intervene in a nullsec war was when a CSM member named, I'm not sure whether he's still on the CSM or not, a guy named Chitsa Jason or something, had this hilarious SoundCloud where he tried to get a meeting of W-Space guys together to try to get them to throw in to help in 3. And he pretty much got laughed out of the room by all the W-Space guys going, like, why the hell would we do this? Why would you even begin to get involved in a nullsec war? Like, what benefit is there for us? So it's like two separate games that they interact with each other on roams. And, about the biggest strategic impact I've seen from W-Space has been when they catch, like, IS Boxer gangs of renters in, like, deep renter territory where it's normally really safe. And, like, you'll occasionally see some really hilarious, like, Northern Associates lost mails where, like, 13 carriers will die in one thing because, somebody from Wormhole scouted him and they don't know how to look out for that. So we'll see more of that, I hope, which is hilarious. But, interesting times.
Yeah, I'm definitely very excited for Thera. There's a lot of interesting things coming out of it. Really, the Shattered Wormholes out of Rhea. Did I say Thera? Sorry. I think Thera and the Shattered Wormholes are the only thing that we really have a huge list of information on.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything about. Like, I'm really excited to see what these T3 destroyers are going to do.
Me too.
And we're kind of waiting in the wings for that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that hopefully we'll get information on very, very soon.
I guess we have, like, the Bowhead, which is the big ship transporter, which is, I suppose, exciting for some people somewhere, I guess.
Alikchi's very excited for it because he really wants to, what did he call it? Suicide gank?
Yeah, I don't really know how well that's going to work because it seems to me this is kind of a broader shift in direction with CCP is that, the Bowhead, from what I understand, is going to be very difficult to suicide gank. And I've heard some complaints from the Ministry of Love. In general, with CCP extending the length of the queue, great idea, makes wonderful business sense. Changing things with cloning, such that you don't have to pay clone costs. Again, great idea, makes great business sense. I think I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some action on either high-sec AWACSing rules or also just lessening the amount of suicide ganking, which obviously makes Goonswarm sad. We love suicide ganking. We love burn Jitas, all that. But with the bowhead being so difficult to gank, I think it wouldn't surprise me to see further changes in that direction, and that's just the way the world is going.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to talk about more changes as dev blogs release, because I'd really like to know more about these Tech 3 destroyers in particular.
The Confessor model. Have you seen the Confessor model?
Yes,
actually?
It looks like a what did we say it looked like? A curling iron?
I hadn't heard that one before. That's excellent. No, it kind of does actually. Like, you put it in your hair and maybe I could put it in my goatee, right? Get some little curlers in my goatee, and then maybe somebody would think that I'm older than 12. Probably
Perhaps.
not. Maybe
Probably
we'll
not.
see. I can hope. Eventually, one day I'll stop getting carded.
Yeah, maybe.
But all right, so space politics, I guess. I don't know what we're talking about next.
Move on. So last week we kind of gave a huge rundown of everything that was currently happening post Phoebe in most of nullsec, if not all of nullsec. So a few things have happened / changed since then. We've got a mini fountain invasion. We've got the CFC going to war with Black Legion.
Yep.
Apparently Ink is imploding. I don't know much about that personally.
Imploded, they're dead. Yep, well, we can get to that.
Okay. And then there's lack of progress in the East by the Russians.
All right.
So let's start with what's going on with the CFC. So I'm going to start, obviously last week, I think it was the 17th, you released a statement.
Update.
This is a CEO update, a statement. This is what the CFC is doing, and this is what we've decided to do now. So all of a sudden, the CFC has decided to get aggressive with Black Legion. So what brought that about?
Okay, well, basically Phoebe. I mean, one of the situations that we found ourselves in last year after the collapse of Test Alliance, we invade Fountain, we took it, and there was all that drama that we talked about last week. And then Delve collapsed. We didn't expect them to just run away from Delve. So then suddenly, instead of just taking Fountain, then suddenly we have Quirius and Delve and period basis and Fountain, and oh god. So you ended up seeing the CFC setting up sort of a mirror of what the East had after the collapse of the Russians with, they have Northern Associates and Bot, and we ended up setting up Publord as Renter territory to cover all this stuff up. Blah, blah, blah. So the point is that we were horribly overextended. We ended up with the western half of the galaxy. Our erstwhile, our wayward enemies ended up with the eastern half of the galaxy. And we were able to bounce around and defend all this stuff using power projection in the form of slowcat fleets, basically. We call them boot fleets. Everybody else calls them slowcat fleets. So, Archons come a lot. So, what happened with the CFC now going on offensive is that at any given time, due to the nature of Phoebe, with people being able to send caps and super caps across the map in an eye blink before that era, meant that there was really no point in us ever really trying to wipe out all the Black Legion towers or going after them in an aggressive way, because they would be able to, if they initiated some sort of Asakai style super cap fight, they would be able to call for help from the entirety of the rest of the galaxy, which is why, Asakai and BR5 are both very interesting. They get all the press, but they were both accidents, right? They started by mistakes, errors in judgments, things going, hellishly wrong at 3 a.m. or what have you.
Let me jump this into a system. Oh, no, wait, let me get it out. Actually, no, let's fight it.
Yeah. Oh, wait, why is everybody in the world coming to, So anytime somebody starts a fight in EVE Online and reinforcements can come, those reinforcements are always going to come from everywhere and beat on the losing side, because nobody is going to go fight for the scrappy underdog. It doesn't matter who it is or where it is. More people will pile in to swing a fight that's already in progress. So what does this have to do with Black Legion? Now they can't call for help. Instead of just ignoring them and leaving like 15 or 20 towers in Venal and just going off and doing our own thing, now we can actually say, you can't cry for help to NC Dot. You can't cry for help to PL, not like PL likes them anymore at all. You can't cry for help, period. You're in Venal, you're surrounded by us, and there's really just nothing stopping us from, just wiping them out. And it's good. I mean, it's, part of the funniest thing that I think about, did you read some of the reactions to the CEO update? Like
I generally tend to ignore them, because whenever you make a post or you say something, everyone just says, LOL, the spin is so real.
Spinning like a tornado. Yeah.
Which is essentially the TLDR of 90% of the comments. Because people are talking about, you're saying that you're going in to attack them just because now they can't call for help, but really BL have been attacking you and kicking your ass. There's been a lot of those types of comments.
The other thing, of course, is that I'm mad, right?
Yes, of
that
course.
was like, if I display aggression, I'm hugely, furiously angry. If I use aggressive language, and I guess as a leader of a war-based alliance, because I mean, Goonswarm lives only for war.
Yes.
Displaying aggression is anger. I don't know. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with being mad. Let's say that I was mad. Let's say that they made me angry, and now we're going to stomp on them. Like, I guess it's a Reddit thing. I don't know. There's a lot of test guys now in Black Legion, so there's a lot of like upvoting. Like, there's a lot of upvote bullshit. Basically, like, you know, we'll do something and they'll run to the Eve subreddit and like start spamming up or down votes on whatever they think is going to make a difference. But yeah, that's basically it. Like, they can't stop us anymore, and so we're going to wipe them out. You know, we need to shake the dust off, and it's just it's a good time. We have, you know, I have felt restricted by the pre-Phoebe environment, because like we were overextended, we had too much space, and like you couldn't really go on a proper offensive and say like, you know, we're going to get you, and now we can. So that's sort of a very liberating experience, I think. Very long answer there to a simple question.
So the intention then was to always wipe BL off the map. It's just now is the time.
Yeah, feasibly, you know, it's not feasible. And whenever you have an enemy that's going to talk about how they want to get rid of you, or they're always aggressing on us. I mean, Black Legion has been, you know, they had this little Donut Destroyers channel on Skype where they added all the N3 people, and they were trying to arrange our doom. And then they get surprised when the game changes, and now we can actually turn and address them. They're shocked that we're doing it. I don't know, but it's fun. I mean, we've been having nightly U.S. time zone ops. Our U.S. time zone has been getting a lot stronger. We've been having some successes there. Lazarus Telraven is of course back and actively FCing, which is a delight. That's basically the Northern Front. I mean, it's been back and forth. It's been Tengu fleets fighting Tengu fleets. Nothing really substantial has happened. It's a bunch of tower sieging on both sides, and a lot of interesting changes to the doctrine meta, where like last night Elo was using we were seeing sensor damp Tengus, which gave our guys kind of a bloody nose at first, and that was really interesting to see. So yeah, that's basically the Northwest CFC is pretty much all Black Legion venal action.
Okay, so then I know that the CFC is kind of split at the moment between sort of fights at the moment. You've got the northwestern CFC worrying about Black Legion, and you've got the southwestern CFC invading Fountain. Oh, so what's the reason there? So, what's going on in Fountain that has made you go, we have to go back there and do something about it?
So the Fountain situation is kind of funny. So I mean, we control Fountain, and after Phoebe, Fatal Ascension, and Lawn, and Blast, Forged of Fire, which is the alliance led by the graduates from Eve University, have all moved into Fountain and sort of settled there. The big noise everywhere about an invasion of Fountain was actually started by Black Legion. Black Legion has been trying to convince NC Dot and N3 to invade Fountain in order to take pressure off of them in Venal. So they made a downfall video of me talking about how Fountain is being invaded, and I'm very upset and waving my arms in the air. Which was funny because all that happened is there was a poke at Y2, which is the gate, you know, the entrance to Fountain from Delve. The Southwest CFC has been getting really organized. They moved their staging system from 6VDT to TEG in the last couple of days, getting that stocked up, learning how to work together, flash forming Tengu fleets. They successfully defended themselves without any help from the Northwest CFC at all yesterday. So, and that's more of a, I guess, a Reddit invasion, right? Like where people are like, "Oh my God, you know, there's an invasion of Fountain." Now it could happen. I mean, it could be that, you know, tomorrow or today, NC Dot moves their staging system to actually try to invade Fountain. But it's been sort of a slow poking process that has allowed the Southwest CFC to move their staging system to get sorted, to get used to working with each other.
Right.
So, you know, I think there was a missed opportunity there. If they really wanted to do it, if there was actually a plan for that, they should have hit us as hard as they could before the Southwest guys could, you know, get coordinated, moved, and get their act together.
It seems like they're not too worried. Like the CFC in general doesn't seem too worried about what is going on in Fountain, because it doesn't seem like there's not enough going on, and it seems like whatever small skirmishes that have happened, the Southwest CFC have managed to hold it without any issue.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't lost the system. the staging system. The thing is this, like, whenever you move, like in Phoebe, what determines whether a invasion is real or not depends entirely upon the presence or absence of a local capital fleet, right? So you can go reinforce something with subcaps, and that means that if the people who live there have even a pulse that they won't drown in a rainstorm, something like that, they'll be able to defend it just fine. As soon as caps and supers move, then it's a real invasion. But that's a very difficult strategic call for the people who's doing that invading, because then all that they have is open. So like if NC Dot decides they want to move their caps and supers in to Fountain, that's great, and that leaves Quarius and Esoteria and everything else that they've been using that cap fleet to defend becomes vulnerable. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it'll be hilarious if while we're on this show, I go to check my intel channels and suddenly NC Dot is convoying into Fountain, and then we get to deploy people to Quarius, and then
that would be wonderful.
It would be hilarious. I think it would be very interesting to see.
Interesting.
But yeah, that's basically what's going on there. That area of space is relatively quiet.
Yeah. So you want to talk a little bit about ink imploding, or that they've imploded. So I don't really know exactly what's going on with this. This is news to me.
Okay.
I missed it.
So, well, it's a news to basically everybody. I mean, I mentioned it in the CEO update very briefly because INK is basically some random ass N3 alliance of no real consequence. They had a leadership shuffle of some kind, and they were losing their space, or they had a conflict. Like this is normally like way beneath my notice. And what happened was they moved into the drone regions, and one of our squads, European Gunion, led by Mr. V and his crew of European, myrmidons, whatever you want to call them, went out there and did like 2 ops, and then the alliance failure cascaded. And it was really weird because like half of them joined Darkness, and the other half, which is based in Delve now, Sword Dragons Alliance, and then the other half joined Black Legion. Like Black Legion took in like 5 INK corps. So between that and like the test corps, it's kind of funny. So that was interesting, mainly just because they died after like 2 ops from European Gunion, and now they're in like Darkness and Black Legion, and who the hell are these guys? Not too much to say about that. I mean, it happened. It's an item of news. I think probably like the biggest explosions we had this last week was again in the territory of Brave Newbies, I think, with that.
Yeah, there was a huge battle for F4 in Catch. PL and Hero clashed. Hero lost a lot of money, but won the objective. There was a station timer that was coming out. I think it was the final station timer. In the beginning, it was PL threw a bunch of Tengus, 200 Tengus at Hero, and Hero had about 400 Dominixes. I don't think it was just Dominixes. There was other things mixed in there. And while that subcap fight was going on, Hero had some dreads out blapping SPUs to try and I guess it was to wrestle control of the
yeah, they were going to try to
the system.
Yeah, they were like splitting up the dreads to try to. It looked like they were trying to bait a PL drop. They definitely,
which is interesting because that's definitely what it seemed like, because PL went to deal with that, but then when they went to deal with that, Hero did the ballsiest thing I've ever seen anyone do, and escalated the fight and dropped caps.
They did.
Pretty much before, with the intention of fighting PL with capitals before PL escalated. Usually, I guess it's pretty normal for PL to wait for the escalation.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted to see whether they could bait them into putting, something very valuable on the table, such that, we're live streaming, so putting something very valuable on the table so that it can then be chopped off. That was very interesting. I mean, it's great to see Brave getting aggressive like that.
Yeah.
And it's that's how you have to learn how to use caps in this day and age. Is like you have to make mistakes. It was a mistake, not in a oh my god you used your caps and that's bad sort of sense. It's that they should have expected a counter escalation. So when you put dreads on the field, supers come in. If you put your dreads there first, and then you don't have supers able to come over the top and deal with theirs. If they had gotten a bounced Titan or something like that, if they had managed to make one of like the PL Titans bounce, kind of like what Black Legion did to us actually before Phoebe, we had a Titan bounce away from the group and they dropped 60 dreads on it.
Yeah.
They lost all of their dreads, but they did manage to kill the Titan. And that's usually a trade that people are delighted to make.
It was Hero just about got a Ragnarok. I think they got it into like 40% armor or something like
Oh
that,
my,
or maybe it
okay.
was 40% shield. I don't remember exactly which one it was. They definitely almost had it. If they had had another like 2 minutes, that Ragnarok would have gone down. Um, but they just missed that. That's what they focused when that got dropped on field. That's what they focused. That's what they wanted to kill. That was their objective. But unfortunately, they didn't get it. It was 40% armor. Thank you, Dirk, for reminding me. And it's unfortunate that they didn't get it because it would have been
It would have
a
been an
huge
amazing.
deal.
I mean, the thing though is that even though they didn't get it, I read Elise Randolph's battle report,
Yeah.
which was amazing, and the fact that they were very clearly planning in advance and holding their forces back, and they were trying to bait out PL. To do this, I think showed a level of sort of metagame planning that you
Yeah.
hadn't necessarily seen before from that alliance. And you have to think that way in the capital, in Savor. So the fact, even if it didn't work, the fact that they tried and they executed a plan, sometimes you roll the dice and you lose, but they did a pretty good job of planning that out before they did roll those dice. And they
Yeah,
saved
and
the system. So
they did.
good
They
on
saved
them.
the system. They won the objective. And I think that was the intention. I think that they knew that they had lost the fight, but that the point wasn't to win the fight. The point was to win the system and to win the objective. And they did that, even though they lost a lot of money. But
It's sort of the Shadoo principle, actually,
Yeah.
because, when you're fighting PL, a lot of times if you try to blue ball them or you try to, in a situation like this, I don't think PL legitimately wants catch, right? Like, they don't want space, they don't want catch. They're poking Brave to get fights. But if Brave had not engaged in an aggressive way, it would have been entirely likely that PL would have vindictively taken the system just to punish them, to say, we're here to shoot spaceships and we want to kill you. And if you don't at least try to fight back, then we're going to punish you by, actually taking the system. And I don't think that Brave would have been able to stop them. If PL wanted to take that system, they could have. But they fought, they were plucky, they were good, they executed a plan, it didn't quite work out. But at the end of the day, they still have their key system, and PL and I think everybody in the galaxy has more respect for them as a result.
Definitely. I think that was probably one of the biggest things for Hero, is that even though they didn't necessarily 100% win the day, they won the objective, and they won a hell of a lot of props from everyone in the EVE community to go, wow, you had the balls to drop, to
on
escalate.
PL. Yeah, they
On
escalated
PL.
on PL. Brave newbies escalated on PL. That's
a
amazing.
big deal.
That's great.
And it's, it's one of those things where it's like, good for you guys, and, way to take an opportunity and way to win your system. That's what's important.
Absolutely.
And you guys got what you wanted out of it. So the biggest thing is, I think everyone said that it was a really fun fleet and that they were really surprised and shocked and have a new respect for Hero. So that's a big deal.
That is. That really is.
Moving on from that, so there's lack of progress in the East by the Russians. The Russians have done nothing of note.
Oh, man. Well, let's go ahead and take a look, actually. The thing about this business with the East, and I have to go, I don't know whether I'm screwing up on the camera here by doing this. The thing with the East is that there's, two areas of Russian assault. One of them is out of Stain, and one of them is out of Curse. And so you kind of have these two groups of Russians that are doing stuff. So the Initiative is also a CFC alliance, is basing out of Curse. And these guys have been attacking into Immancy. They've been attacking Gorgon Empire and Red Alliance, and Dreamfleet have been poking at stations in Deterid, in Wicked Creek, and in Scalding Pass. And if you look at the SOV changes, there hasn't been really all that much movement.
Right.
My spies report that in general, the efforts of the what we're calling the Curse Russians have been relatively successful. They have picked up stations. They've been getting wins. It looks like Wicked Creek and Scalding Pass are basically going to get ceded, kind of like, a lot of entities ceded territory before Phoebe. Some of the guys in N3 were a little bit late to that particular maneuver, and so now they're realizing, oh, hey, we can't actually defend the entire eastern half of the galaxy, like something that everybody else already figured out. The Stain stuff is a little bit tougher. The Stain Russians are, Coven and the leadership from Darkness of Despair, and they were the guys who really initiated and led the Halloween War back in the day. And we really haven't seen that much progress because they're receiving most of the defensive efforts from NC Dot and N3 into regions like Esoteria, basically. Like there's a lot of fights back and forth in Esoteria, and they just haven't had much progress. So we're going to have to see how that goes. If if NC Dot decides to actually have a go at Fountain, I think you're going to see both Quarius and the Southeast open up. Because where they currently have their supercap fleet is in excess TAC in period basis that allows them to kind of both cover things in the southwest and also a little bit in the southeast and Esoteria because of the joyous process of being able to jump caps through gates. So that's going to be a thing to watch, but really not too much movement, not too much excitement. Just kind of everybody kind of twiddling to see whether these guys are going to get their act together and go on the offensive or whether it's going to be one of those situations we've seen over the last few years, which is unfortunate, where this once very strong Russian group in Eve, which used to be marching in lockstep together to accomplish objectives, if they turn around and just descend into infighting and blame each other and give up and go back to Stain. The Curse guys have it together as best as we can tell, and they're actually taking stations. So hey.
So I guess we'll see what comes of that. Do you expect more alliances now that we've kind of figured out how Phoebe is working in particular and some of the upcoming changes later with Rhea? Do you expect alliances to get more aggressive now that they've consolidated and figured things out?
I do think,
there's a lot of posturing at the moment, but not a whole lot of fighting.
I think there's going to be local aggression. I mean, I think what we're seeing, everybody's still kind of finding their sea legs after the game has changed. And so in a situation like in Venal, it's really quite safe for an entity like the CFC. Of course, having said this on live TV now, Elo Knight is going to wipe out one of my cap fleets and point and laugh. But in general, it's much safer for local use of caps and super caps. If you know from your spies and your intel that you don't have a superior fleet like that in your territory. So it would be relatively easy for the Southwestern CFC to swing caps and super caps around Fountain Core because they're not really going to have to worry about somebody being able to hot drop on them. So you're going to see localized increases in aggression and escalation all across the board. And I think we are beginning to see that. As far as invasions and stuff go, most of the action there has been, I think, in error. And you haven't really seen one, right? Like the Russians are the Curse Russians are attacking territory that no real functional alliance lives in, right? You have renter alliances. You have renter alliances with fancy names like Rebel Alliance of New Eden, which is basically just a group of renters. They're not in Northern Associates, but they do pay rent. And those guys are all screwed, right? Like they can't fight back. They don't know what they're doing. They're fighting real alliances that are going to take their space to live in. But we have yet to see a genuine post-Phoebe war of aggression and occupation. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens should that occur. Well, and it might happen in Fountain. I mean, it might be like, tomorrow, NC Dot moves their caps into invade Fountain, and then we get that show on the road.
Is this your way of prodding them to do it?
I don't know.
You mentioning it that
I'm spinning like a tornado,
hey,
right? Right. So if I say that means that I'm mad. I'm spinning. I want them to do it. I don't want them to do it. Like I don't even know.
Then, if you're talking about how difficult it is to take Sov now, just because you don't want to stretch yourself thin. So is the intention then for the CFC to take over Venal and hold it, or is it to give it away?
Well, I mean, Venal is NPC space, so we can't actually take it.
Oh, right. Okay.
But it's more about securing it, and it's also just an opportunity for us to shake the dust off and, have an opportunity to create a lot of basically whining. I mean, part of the reason why you see PL go after Brave Newbies is the same reason why the CFC in the Northwest is going after Black Legion, is that you have an awful lot of people who will screech and make a ton of noise. The Brave Newbies guys at first, they had a huge pile of propaganda about Pandemic Legion attacking them, blah blah blah, and so it's a reaction. Like you poke somebody and they go and so you poke them again. I mean that's Eve. So I mean the goal in Venal is just to break them as usual. I mean Black Legion has always had a glass jaw. When Elo lost his Nyx on his birthday, he basically had a temper tantrum and like flipped sides. Like he'd been attacking Pandemic Legion, and then he was working with the Russians and with us. He lost his Nix on his birthday to PL. He flipped his shit, and then he ended up like flipping sides, working for Noli Secunda, showing up to try to break them out of the OTAC W hell camp that we had set up, the dead zone there. So yeah, I mean that's basically what we're doing. We're not gonna take Venal. We can't take Venal, but we can. They are our local content. They're the content that's closest to the entirety of the Northwest CFC. They put up a good fight. Their tactics are adaptive. Elo is a very smart person when it comes to. I learned how to FC caps and super caps. I don't do it very often, but everything I learned about FCing capitals and all that stuff, actually Elo taught me when we were on the same side. So, he's very, very smart, very intense, but we suspect that after we beat on them for a little bit, they will probably wander off. Who knows? Maybe I'm just saying this and spinning like a tornado because I want to energize them to stick around, or because I'm showing weakness, or I don't know. I should look at Twitch chat here to see what all the complaints are. Somebody's asking him what he lost on it, asking what Elo lost on his birthday. On his birthday last year, he was in the drone regions and he lost his Nix. He was trying to prosecute that little war against Pandemic Legion because there's a grudge between PL and BL. And he lost the Nix, and after that, it just everything kind of, God only knows. So yeah.
I actually think that might bring us to the end of our main discussion.
Alrighty. Well, do we want to...
We've talked a lot about changes. There's not a whole lot, but there's stuff going on, and there's a lot of posturing, and we'll see what comes of all that, I guess, in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. Hopefully there's more conflicts, because conflicts are always interesting.
Getting battles and getting wars and people spinning. It's always good. Why don't we go ahead and take some user questions from chat, I guess.
All right, guys. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and type them out. I'll try and catch them. If I miss them, I'm sorry. If I don't ask them, it's because I don't even.
I don't even.
Which happens.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, there's one thing that I want to ask you as the viewer Q&As are coming in. So in the CEO update, the Goonswarm CEO update, you're using the word purge, taking BL off the map, purging them. It's a lot of the same rhetoric going back to what happened when the CFC decided that TEST needed to go.
Yeah, actually, there's sort of a narrative style that's used in any kind of CEO update. Like, as a leader, when you're trying to fire your guys up for war, like, you pretty much, if you just go like, hey guys, we're going to play some spaceship games, like, maybe you'd like to log on, and, maybe you'll show up, and maybe you won't, and it'll be nice, and we'll have some good fights, I guess. Nobody's going to care, right? I mean, people want leadership, people want aggression, people want to see a clear direction, a clear goal, and they want to have an enemy that is appropriately vilified to get them to log into EVE Online and, do what's necessary. And that's really the fun. So with CEO updates, like the language has pretty much always been the same. I mean, if you look at Darius Johnson's CEO updates before I took over, and then Remedial before him, and Sesfun, there's always kind of sort of a chest pounding, like, we're going to go to war, we're going to do this, we're going to push these guys shit in, we're going to go for it. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of a funny thing, because people will be like, oh, this CEO update was new, this was different, this is strange, like, probably because it's about them, right? And they haven't paid attention to the ones that aren't about them. But the format of a CEO update and calls to action, calls to war across EVE are usually fairly similar. At least that's my take on it. But so yeah, it was kind of similar to the Fountain thing. But if you're gonna, it wasn't a real invasion from the CFC always begins with a speech, right? Not just, hey guys, we're gonna go beat on Black Legion, right? Okay. That doesn't take a speech. The speeches are absolutely like a bunch of jacked up rhetoric, but that's sort of like the pre-game speech the coach gives to his football team when they're in the locker room and saying we're going to get out there and get some. That's just kind of how it is.
Okay, so we've got a bunch of questions.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah, I've tried to catch most of them. So Robin Hood asked, Tengus and Ishtar seem to be the current meta. What are your thoughts on those?
Well, the weird situation with Phoebe and Ishtars is that Ishtars have been a problem for a while, and I think that CCP has sort of dodged the Sentry Drone imbalance issue by nerfing the main use of Sentry Drones, which was, of course, Slowcat or Boot Fleets, these apex forces of teleporting Archon blobs that all use Sentry Drones to nuke people. So that still leaves the Ishtar, which is just absolutely top-tier hack. It's really, really good. There's nothing in its league at the 50-man gang size. If you get 50 to 70 people, Ishtar fleet is about as hard as it is to beat. On the other side, Tengus. Bombing has been such a problem, and we had a little flicker of hope. There was a mention in the features and ideas forum a while back about doing some changes to bombers such that they wouldn't continue to be as ridiculously overpowered. And they ended up walking off that and then talking about actually buffing the amount of bombs and rate of fire that a Tech 2 bomb launcher does. So that was a little weird. We're all kind of trapped in a bomber meta, right? Like so battleships are really kind of hard to use. And that means that you see cruisers with low signatures and high EHP tanks, and weapons like, with Tengus, you still need a critical mass of railgun fire in order to be able to do what's necessary. Ishtars they scale very, very well using sentry drones. And so, yeah, I mean, you still see Proteuses and Legions getting used. I think you're going to see that more and more as a reaction to Tengu fleets. But in general, it's pretty much step one in do you want to undock this fleet in EVE right now is, can it be bombed? How many waves of bombs can it eat? And until that changes, the meta of EVE, of what's available and viable, is really compressed at a strategic level, which is a shame. I mean, we like to see diversity. We like to see, different ships other than, hey guys, everybody get a Tengu, and whatever. But that's the way it is today.
Right. So this one's kind of a silly question, but I'm going to ask it because I think it's funny. And Kadi asks, when and why was DBR allowed to FC something bigger than bombers again?
Well, DBRB has actually been FCing the last 2 days with Tengu fleets himself down in the southwest, and he's done very well with them. I mean, his, for a while there, he had to learn about moderating his aggression. I mean, one of the reasons why DBRB is such an excellent bomber FC is that there's really no consequence for being too aggressive with bombers. Like, if you lose bombers, it's not a problem. They're cheap, you get more. And so you can just constantly go after people with bombers, and you don't suffer any consequences. He had in the past some difficulty with learning when he was losing and being able to pull back from the aggression, because he just likes to go for the throat, right? Like, he just kills and kills and kills.
Asakai!
Exactly. And that's good. I mean, I think that, the era of EVE, I miss the days during the Great War era where in EVE aggression was always rewarded. Because back in the day, even if you were going to lose a fight, you could go down in flames and you take a lot of the other guy with you. But with the way in which logistics works currently, one side is going to win and the other side is going to lose. And it's really rare that you have a battle where blows are traded evenly on both sides, right? You break their logi or you don't. And they break yours or they don't, and then one side gets wiped out and you have to disengage. So DBRB is back in action, and he's already racked up a couple of big wins in the last couple of days. So I'm pretty happy about that, and it's really great to see him back. And I think Tengus are really a good fit, and it's nice to see him shake the dust off.
Speaking of, you mentioned that battleships aren't really a thing anymore. They haven't been for kind of a while. But did you see the 20 bill Maelstrom that went down?
Oh, God. Yeah, I did, actually. And I'm not sure, we assigned a TMC reporter to go get the story on that. I don't know off the top of my head. I just saw it, and it was like, it looked like a mission running ship. Like, it looked like one of these ridiculously pimped out mission ships. I'm not at all sure what happened. I just think that it's funny that we talk about the lack of battleships in EVE, and then you have a $20 billion Maelstrom. Yeah, that's or 20 billion-isk Maelstrom that has suddenly come out of nowhere and is dead. That's a mission ship, definitely. It's odd to see a Maelstrom as a mission ship. That's rather unusual. Why somebody would, the stuff that comes whenever a mission runner ends up in low sec and gets ganked. It shocks the conscience. Like the things you see on these ships.
I'm very excited to see why and what happened with this, and hopefully we'll have an article.
We should have an article in the next day or so, I believe. Hopefully less than 24 hours from now. If not, we'll be cross with a contributor.
So Fred the Warrior Frog asked, CCP sob changes. Are you excited, hopeful, or worried about them?
We're just gonna have to see what they say. I mean, the discussion seems to have been from the CSM minutes. There was a lot of discussion about occupancy soft, which is something that literally everybody in nullsec who signed the null deal is in favor of. Most of the things that we've seen out of CCP have been positive in the last two patches, with the one exception of Grayscale's attempt to really mess with jump freighters and rorquals and nullsec logistics. I thought that was a deeply problematic conflation of power projection on the one hand with logistics on the other. It made no sense at all. They did back off of that with a 90% reduction in jump fatigue. So, I mean, we're going to have to see what they say as far as timing and as what their plan is, as long as we avoid game design that's based out of ignorance, right? Like, somebody making changes on logistics ships when they've never run a reaction farm or never really done logistics. It should be good. I mean, Phoebe has so far been pretty awesome. I'm happy with it. And if
logistics are awful.
Yeah, the logistics are absolutely awful. And again, this is a thing that if they experience that gameplay themselves, like Siegel had been giving speeches in the past about how they want to help enablers, right? The people who make the content for everyone else. So it's a really weird situation where you saw in Phoebe where they're just crapping on logistics guys, crapping on them a little bit less, but still doing that and tarring them with the same brush. The people who fuel your towers, the people who run your reaction farms, why are those guys getting put in the same box as the Apex Force dudes, teleporting around the map and winning battles wherever we go, right? So I am hopeful. I mean, the decisions we've seen from CCP in the past couple of patches have been very sensible. The queue change, the clone cost change, all of that seems like somebody is very stable and sensible, is now at the wheel. The new trailer that was just released,
phenomenal,
amazing trailer showing people what the game is actually like what they can expect in EVE if they PvP. Emphasizing PvP also, emphasizing player conflict. That's great because most people come here and they try the game for a day and they quit if they even make it through the day, because when you first log on it's the tutorial and then it's spreadsheets in space and
it's definitely good that they made a video that really highlights how interesting EVE can be, and how having a lot of voices from the FC's perspective, sitting there trying to think through, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is what we know is happening. There's a lot of logistics and there's a lot of behind the scene things that even line members in respective alliances don't really get to see a perspective on. They don't see all the scouting that goes into finding fights. They don't see the behind the scenes big fight.
It's like an iceberg, right? Yeah, absolutely. Like there's all this stuff that's going on beneath the surface, and people only see a tiny little bit at the top with maybe the fight itself or a battle report thereafter. So yeah, I mean, great trailer. We're going to see more newbies, I think, from that. I was seeing a graph from EVE Offline that was getting posted around that showed, like, in the last 2 days, there had been this huge uptick in people signing up new trial accounts because of that trailer. And it's really nice to see a trailer that sort of is truth in advertising, I guess. Like, if you do PvP, if you get involved in fleets, this is what you can actually expect, as opposed to just purely cinematic things where people are just kind of, they get into the game and they're like, this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
So hopefully that same sensibility, the same intelligence and strategy that we're seeing from the company now will be applied to soft reform.
So there's one other question I'm going to ask. The Blue Doc asks, do you see Phoebe, and by extension, the changes to come after Phoebe, do you think that it will eventually bring an end to coalitions as they exist today?
Well, I think that that's certainly the goal of some of the people within CCP. I think that there are definitely people who do not like the idea of coalitions. The problem is that coalitions have always existed in EVE, always. I mean, possibly in 2003, before people had really settled in nullsec, there wasn't a coalition. But even back in the days of the Great War, that was, starting as of 2006 and even before that, in every single geographic quadrant, there has always been a coalition. Before the Great War, you had Red Alliance, Goonswarm and Tau Ceti Federation, RSF, against Locke of Volterra and the Southern Coalition, which controlled the Middle East and the Southeast. Asken was essentially a coalition that had Axiom Empire and a whole bunch of other little alliances under Ascendant Frontier in the southeast. You had Band of Brothers in the southwest, and then in the northwest you had the Northern Coalition, G, Trust, Iron, all that crew back in the day. So whenever I see people talking about getting rid of coalitions or getting rid of diplomacy or anything like that, it's essentially like raging about the sky being blue. Human nature is to coordinate and consolidate. You're even seeing that happen in LoSec now, where these groups of... we read an article just the other day talking about the rise of the LoSec capital. Yep. And that's a sign of the increasing level of networking, communication, coordination in LoSec. So trying to keep humans to avoid coordination, people are social animals, they're very tribal. Trying to fight against that, you might as well just try to hold your breath and stop breathing. I mean, I think especially with the changes that they're doing, if they don't want coalitions, if they want to get rid of that, then why are you implementing Thera? I mean, Thera is going to create probably a superpower of some kind at the center of W-Space, which has never... From a mechanical perspective, W-Space never really had an opportunity to form coalitions because everybody was in their own little silo, basically. With the creation of Thera, I think you're going to see that change. So, we'll see. I
don't know if you're seeing chat. I don't know if you're watching the spam.
Mm-hmm.
People keep asking, Mittani, are you ready for -93? And this has been spammed. I don't know what that means, or if that... I know that it's a person. I've seen them talk.
I see Lice 1989 is this person, and one Evident Doom. So basically what we have here are a couple of NC guys who are probably upset that they haven't really managed much of anything in Y2. And I am supposed to be scared and intimidated on live TV.
By their spam?
By -93 is one of their fleet commanders. He's about on the same level, I guess, as... he's about as good as Soho and Vince and Travis. I mean, most of NC stuff that we care about comes from Vince, because he's the leader. So no, I don't know if I'm ready for -93 or not. He's been leading fleets against us for the last 3 or 4 days with this amazing Fountain invasion. And let me go ahead and check my intel channels over here and see if they have done anything. And checking. Other than, whatever, I'm not really seeing anything to be particularly afraid of. Sorry, guys. I know that you want to see Mittens upset, but...
All right, guys. So most of the questions have been asked. If you have any others, feel free to type them out. What we're going to do is, I think we're going to do a giveaway now.
I think giveaways are a great idea.
So what do you have for our wonderful viewers today?
Well, so we have, let's go ahead and give away. I'm thinking about, what are we going to do? We're going to make them say something like butts or something.
I was thinking, since people were spamming it, I was thinking of making them type out that -93 guy's name, but I think we'll just do butts. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna do butts. So if you guys, what are we giving them before they type in butts?
We are going to have, let's give away 2 Plex today, and also a Apocalypse Navy issue, because those are always fun. And the 4th giveaway will be an Orca for the more industrial-minded. So we're going to give away 2 Plex, an APOC Navy issue, and a Orca. All of which will be contracted in Jita. Yes, BUTTS.
Yes, BUTTS, no capitals.
Not with an E, because...
Yeah, no, not with an E.
Just BUTTS. We'll let that go for about 5 minutes so people can go ahead and get their names in.
Yeah, someone else asked an interesting question. Do you think that with the launch of Phoebe, Brand of Brothers will make a comeback?
No. I mean, you could argue that most of the ex-Bob guys are in NC Dot, which they are. Right. With Evolution and Sir Molly and all that crowd in there. Finn Fleet as well. They're just pretty much the dead enders that we've been kicking around the galaxy for the last whatever. But they're under different leadership. So other than having Vince is in charge. He's not a Bob guy. He's an ex-Try guy. And, a lot of the people who were great war vets, Sword Dragon's a Bob guy, but he runs his own alliance now.
Yeah.
It's just a fairly distributed group of people anymore. There's not really that much connection to what I'd call the old Bob there.
Right.
Other than Lady Scarlet being in their leadership.
Yeah. So one more question, hopefully before we give away some stuff. So we talked a little bit about, the person at the helm of CCP now who's making all these great, wonderful changes that many of us are very excited about. So in particular here we're talking about Siegel.
Okay.
So how do you feel about Siegel in particular? I know that you're happy with a lot of the quality of life changes that CCP is doing. Do you think that she's a better fit at the helm of CCP now? Do you think it was fine before? Are you happy with the direction she's trying to take EVE Online?
Well, I'm absolutely happy with the direction. I mean, it seems to me it's always tough to assign credit and blame for changes, right? Because CCP is a vast organization,
of course,
that's been going through a very difficult time recently, having to lay off some employees and seeing, based upon PCU data, trouble with subscribers, and it does seem to me that somebody who is very sensible has seized control over the wheel and is now actually turning the company in a very good direction in terms of the EVE Online gameplay, the kind of sensible decisions that we've been seeing. There's always a lot of stuff in EVE that was senselessly hard and drove new players away just because of reasons, right? Like, let's take the queue as a great example of this. So, a good game, a game that is well designed, will inspire players to log on and play it, right? You should never have to say, we have to limit the skill queue to 24 hours in order to force our players to log on and do something, because then it becomes an annoying chore. And as a game designer, a game developer, you haven't done your job of making a game that's engaging enough to make your players want to play it, regardless of having some sort of arbitrary complexity requirement. That the pod changes, the 6-week release cycle, the quality of release that we're having. I mean, these guys, it looks like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm not on the CSM.
Right.
It looks to me, because I know how old CCP works, it looks to me like a lot of the cruft, a lot of the unnecessary complexity in terms of the developer teams, like whatever's happened with the developer teams, like they are now putting out really interesting code changes, really interesting UI changes. Like their productivity seems to have doubled or tripled. And that says to me, from running a ridiculously overcomplicated internet spaceship organization, that somebody, probably Siegel, has gone through and cleaned out a lot of the barriers, simplified the organization to allow these guys to put out the kind of 6-week release cycle that we're seeing.
Yeah.
So if she is responsible, and that's currently my guess, I do think that she is responsible for this. Everything we've been seeing out of them has been amazing. I mean, the game seems to be just really rapidly turning for the better, which is good, because I mean, we all want CCP to continue as a going concern. We want to see more progress like this, and that's just excellent.
I'm pretty happy. I have to say that I'm pretty close to resetting.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's exciting for me. Maybe give this game a try again. We'll see about that though. So let's go ahead. We've got 200 entries with butts.
That is a lot of butts.
So this is for a Plex. So I'll go ahead and roll this.
I don't think we have the ability to display things, so let's tell people how this works before we do this.
So you guys type in butts. I've got it so that the subs have a little bit of preferential win potential. Not a lot, but a little bit. Which we got 2 of today. Hotspot32 and Zal1321 are our
Thank
subs
you very
of
much,
the day.
guys.
So thanks for supporting us, guys. I really appreciate it. So MA1 Nerer.
Main error, I think.
Main error, thank you. That's, yeah.
Congratulations,
so
Main error. Go ahead and send us a message on Twitch, a private message with the name of your EVE guy. And was that for one of the plexes, Nystrik?
That was for one of the plexes.
Excellent. Congratulations to Main error.
Okay, so let's see how we reset this.
Oh, apparently, I think Twitch auto ran an advertisement or something.
Oh,
what
yeah.
we were saying. That's kind of annoying. Do we have it set for like an every hour it just does one, or?
I honestly don't know. That is I think Scars' department right there. So that's something we'll have to ask him about. Okay, so let's go ahead and do another giveaway. Do we want to do a ship or another Plex?
Let's do the Apocalypse Navy issue.
Okay, so we'll do the Apocalypse Navy issue. Again, the word is going to be butts. So if you want an Apocalypse, type butts again.
So we're going to have everybody retype it each time they do a giveaway. Okay.
Yes, so that way we're not...
And we do have, thank you very much for watching and trolling us in chat if you enjoy doing that. It's all Eve, it's all fun and games. And
there's there's a tiny little bit of trolling, not a whole lot though.
The NC guys are a little mad. I don't know why.
I don't know if they're necessarily mad. I think they're just
I love you -93. Would that make you feel happy if I say I love you on live TV? Or am I supposed to be afraid? I don't know. So thank you so much for supporting us. We have, you can follow our channel. You can subscribe to our channel as well. I think that we give, for giveaway subscribers, get a slight bump or something. I'm not entirely sure how that works.
Tiny little bit of a bump. So make sure if you want to, please subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook. Read our articles online, all that fun stuff.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna go ahead and roll this one.
Excellent.
So this is for an Apocalypse Navy issue, correct?
That is correct. It's an Apoc Navy issue.
All right. Mink 1607. I've seen him or her post a few times in our chat. So Mink 1607, you have won Apocalypse Navy issue.
Go ahead and send us a message on Twitch with the name of your Eve guy, and we will get that contracted to you and Jita. And then I think after this, we're going to do an Orca for the industrial types. And then finally, we'll go ahead and end things with another Plex.
Okay, so...
let's actually change the word for each giveaway so everybody knows.
So let's do Orca for this one.
Okay.
O-R-C-A. That'll be your word, guys. If you want an Orca, type in Orca.
If you don't want an Orca, I suppose you could get the thing, win it, and then flip it around on Jita.
Yeah, you could sell it. If you really don't even want that, you can go ahead and type in butts again, I guess, if you really feel like it, I suppose. I'm pleased with how quickly all these entrants are coming through, because last time, because of my terrible internet problems...
We're, basically we're in sort of a process of learning our way around doing these weekly shows and sort of leveling up our audio-visual abilities. I was sort of shameful previously. I was trying to set up a green screen previously, and that just got to be a little bit too complicated, trying to figure out chroma keying. We'll do it later, not an hour before the show. So I'm relying on my trusty Tengu blanket behind me to provide a background.
It's better than what I've got. Apparently my room's a mess. It's actually kind of organized. That's a table, and it's got like stuff stacked on it, and those are books. So I mean, it's really not that messy. I guess it kind of looks messy though.
We're gonna get you sorted out with some new equipment soon. Don't worry.
I like my books and my board games. All right, guys, those are my things. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and roll this. And,
all right, let's do the Orca thing. Yes.
Core_6.
Wow, Core 6.
You have won an Orca.
That's excellent. That is, it is in fact the AFCON blanket. A very kind member of AFCON a couple years ago at FanFest presented me with this, and actually you can't see it. But if you a little bit higher on the blanket, actually, there's an AFCON symbol and the symbol of his corp, and apparently this was his favorite Tengu that he used all the time. So he gave this to me, and a lot of the time it sits on my daybed. So if you saw the stream last week, you got to see my puppy snuggled up on top of the Tengu blanket, which is one of her favorite places to hang out.
Okay, so again, for those of you who have won, message the channel with your Eve character name, who you want the thing to go to, and we'll get that over to you as soon as possible. So we're going to go ahead and do the last one. It's a Plex. So you're going to type Plex if you want to win a Plex, which I've heard are very expensive these days.
It is actually, like, they almost hit 1 billion ISK the other day. I think they might have even hit above 1 billion ISK. There was some sort of a market manipulation there. I think
that was terrifying.
As more people are playing Eve, like, we really need to get like a financial analyst on to figure out why that is. I'm not sure. I don't understand markets at all in Eve. or any of that stuff. But
There are
apparently,
people that do.
there's people who specialize in it, and so I'm not sure what's going on there. Something is happening due to a supply crunch. CCP apparently had a sale on Plex the other day, and even that didn't drive down the price. And we don't know whether that's like a supply issue, whether there's too much ISK in the system, or whether it was just a big mover in the market world doing a manipulation.
Well, Plex has been on the rise for quite a while.
It really has.
It's been slowly. Back when I used to get Plex, I think it were 400 million.
I remember the days. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
From between 375 and like 550, and that seemed, when it started getting above 500, that seemed like a big deal.
It was like, whoa, this is stop.
Oh
What's
my
happening? God. Yeah, and now it went up
Plex
to 600,
almost
to 700.
$1 billion. Yeah, no, it's been 850, all that. It's nuts. It's
scary.
Yeah, I really wonder why that is. I wonder if it's because of, actually, this is kind of an issue. I wonder if this has anything to do with IS Boxer proliferating everywhere through Eve. Like, we have a situation in Eve now where more and more players have figured out how to use IS Boxer in very large numbers. So you see mining fleets of like 40 or 50 mining barges. You have stealth bomber fleets of, there's a guy who has like 40 stealth bombers that he runs from one computer all by himself. Yeah. And presumably that, these things can rad and mine much more efficiently. And I wonder if that's why there's more ISK in the system. I have no idea. But
I don't know.
I just kind of thought to myself.
All right, so let's roll this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Bulbasaur Wizard.
Bulbasaur Wizard. That's
with my favorite name of the day.
Is that a Pokemon thing?
It is.
Is that something that you millennials like? Is that one of these?
Bulbasaur is the little grass Pokemon from the original Pokemon.
I am blissfully ignorant.
Unaware? Okay.
And Nerd Trap was completely sprung on you for that. But I guess everybody here possibly knows how Pokemon work. I have no idea. So Bulbasaur won this?
Bulbasaur Wizard.
Bulbasaur Wizard has won a Plex. Congratulations. Go ahead and send us a Twitch message with the name of your Eve guy that you want to have that added to. We'll go ahead and get that sent over. And I think that's it. We've given away 2 Plex, a Apocalypse Navy issue, and an Orca.
We have.
So high fives all around.
Congratulations to everyone who won. One more time, make sure you message us, Eve names. We'll get that to you ASAP. Again, I want to thank the people who subscribed today. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Sorry we started a little late. It went a bit better today, though, once we got it rolling.
One of the hilarious issues of having me try to do tech stuff. I think we've got a good setup here. I think it'll work out a lot better. Tune in next week. Same time. That'll be about 2100 Eve. Absolutely. 3 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Pacific. I'm in the frozen wastes of Central Time Zone right now. It's 10 degrees outside, covered in snow.
Aw, that's cute.
My dog is happy,
Canada.
at least. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Or do you have like one of those like 5-foot snowdrifts or
10
something?
10 degrees, that's cute.
Oh, I see.
Oh.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much for showing up. Thank you for following. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for listening to me run my mouth with my terrible goatee. And thank you to my co-host, Nystrik, for putting up with my BS for a little bit more than an hour and walking through the nightmare of teaching Alex how to use OBS. So we'll see you all next week. Thank you.
Bye-bye.